The purpose of all of these Orchidea activities is to keep America and the world from forgetting and to help put into perspective the virtual evil incarnate in World War II that these people here helped defeat. And we all can imagine what our worlds in post-World War II would have been like had this greatest generation not defeated the Axis forces.
At 3 a.m., the Greek Prime Minister receives a call from the guards outside his residence, informing him that the Italian ambassador wished to urgently see him. The Prime Minister got dressed very quickly. He received the ambassador in his living room. The ambassador read what was basically an ultimatum, requesting that the Italian forces in Albania be given free passage into Greek territory. That was essentially a request that Greece surrenders and accepts Italian control. The Greek Prime Minister considered this message and he said, "Ochi, no, this is going to be war."
Greece today is a very, very tiny country. Think about the Greece of 1940, a very small country.
World War II was raging, and all the news on the Allied front was bad.
The Greek people had this kind of collective, spontaneous response.
They were chanting in the streets, they were singing patriotic songs, they were chanting anti-Italian slogans and chanting no, Ochi, to the Italians. Within a few hours, they were crossing the Greek border. The fighting was fierce. The Greek troops were much more poorly equipped than the Italian troops, and the terrain was so treacherous it was very difficult to get supplies to the Greek troops on the frontier.
The Greeks were outmanned significantly, at least 10-1.
The Greek troops not only held their ground,
but they pushed the Axis powers back into Albania, which was really incredible.
The whole of Europe was astounded by the heroism of the Greeks. It was so unexpected that Hitler was very upset with Mussolini.
You can imagine him being confounded that such a spirited resistance was undertaken by the Greek people.
This was the first time that the Axis attack in Europe faced this reaction. People were determined not to let the Axis forces take over Europe because they believed in freedom and democracy.
That was really the first good news that happened in the early days of World War II, and psychologically it was extremely important.
The narrative became one of the quintessential David and Goliath story. It shattered the myth of the invincibility of the Axis. It was picked up by news outlets throughout the world. The New York Times, Life magazine, Time magazine, everyone had the Greek story.
They inflicted a wound on the Axis forces that moved President Roosevelt to say, when the entire world had lost hope, the Greek people dared to question the invincibility of the Nazi monster, rising against it, the proud spirit of freedom.
Winston Churchill said that Greeks are not known as fighting like heroes. Heroes fight like Greeks.
Greece's victory over the Italian attack had significant consequences for the rest of World War II. The Germans had to redirect their forces and bring in their own troops.
It certainly threw a monkey wrench into their well-laid plans, and as we know, may have affected the outcome of things.
If there had not been the virtue and courage of the Greeks, we do not know which outcome of World War II would have been.
While Hitler thought he could just subdue Greece in a weekend, it didn't turn out to be that way.
Russian statesmen such as Joseph Stalin, Russian military leaders are on record saying that the delay in the Axis attack gave the Russians valuable months in which they could prepare themselves.
Were not for the Greeks, who knows what would have happened? Who knows what the outcome would have been?
What made them do it? Why did they do it? What was it in the Greek character?
The Greek people instantly came together. They united as one in one voice. The reason for that was that they were fighting for their homeland, their freedom, and for democracy.
I think that the example of the Greeks standing up to Hitler, to Mussolini, to the Axis power is really inspirational. Not just to modern-day Greeks, but to people of all nations who cherish freedom and liberty and democratic principles can look to be inspired.